Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor.
Welcome back, everyone. We have Chris Bertopoulos here in the studio talking winter steelhead. Just gave you a quick rundown on his bobber dogging setup. I really do like the 20-pound fire line, and of course 17-pound P-line floor. No, I'm kidding. He's using Seagar. Down to the stick weight, which I might play with those a little bit more. But you do have your bead set up a little bit different. And, we were just talking about the bobber stops that you can get from B&R soft beads right out of the package. But as a professional, you want it to even be more easy where that bead is not going to move. What's your setup there? It's a little bit different than what most people are going to do.
What I've been playing with it over the years, and always looking for the better mousetrap. What I've done is I've tied a loop at the end of my leader that's 3 fingers wide.
Sure.
So on my it depends on what pound test I'm using, but I'm using Seagar here again. And I tie a loop with a double overhand knot. And above that knot, I have a couple little sequins, and you can get those at the craft store at Michael's or where have you.
Sure.
And then
I
I
think
slide.
even Fisherman's has them.
They may. And then I slide my B&R soft bead right above that, and and I leave a little tag on that knot, as you might see too. That kind of helps. And that bead isn't going to slide over there with those 2 sequins on there. And then I can just loop my bead hook on there. And here's a shout out to the addicted guys. I like those Mustad. Hooks of theirs. And just loop that on over like you would a noosh knot. And that, for me, that setup works out really, really well. I'm not getting the slippage. And that's important to me, not having to mess with it.
It's a huge thing. We've talked about it here for a long. We were talking about it off air. One of the reasons why I like to fish hard beads more so than soft beads in so many situations is simply because, and I might even cost myself a fish or two, because I do that, honestly. But that's a very interesting way to set it up. I like that. Now, first question that comes in my mind, do you ever come into a situation, in low clear water situations, where having that double over line below that bead where you might find that the fish don't quite bite as well, or do you even think that's an issue?
Fluorocarbon is much less visible in the water than our standard monofilaments, but I'm using down as light as 8-pound test a lot of times, and I've never felt like, think about it. Before we had fluorocarbon, we used to use Maxima Chameleon and catch fish in low clear water. How much does it really matter? Ask the fish if you can.
Oh, I'll take you to a spot where you might think you need 6 pound.
Well, there are those situations.
Yes. Okay, so main way to target them, you've got a 9-6 rod. That's one thing I wanted to ask too. A lot of people, they run right to a 10-6 rod. And it's like, oh, everybody talks about 10-6 rod. With clients, do you find that a shorter rod is more of an advantage, or at least easier for them? And in a boat?
In a drift boat. It's, if you got too long a rod, it's hard to get the fish to the boat.
Right.
And oftentimes I can't get out of the boat to net the fish. I like to if I can, if it's easy. But sometimes I can't. I got with my 6-foot net handle.
Right.
And you got a guy with a 10.5-foot rod. It's hard to get
it's hard to get there.
So I tend to stick to 9.5-foot rods.
Makes sense. And there's a lot of people doing the same thing. Myself included. In the sled,
even in the sled.
I was running 10-6s there all the way around the boat, if I had other people in it or not. And myself, I won't fish anything more than a 9-6 maximum, and a 9-2 in the Edge series has been phenomenal because of that shorter length. A lot of times I'm netting them solo. I'm sure you've done that a few times in your life. Having that shorter rod is an advantage.
The long rods come in handy mostly in situations where you got to get a spread and you got to cover a bigger swath of water. But as far as once you got that fish on, getting the fish to the boat easily, especially when you have clients who aren't as experienced at pulling on fish at the last minute, shorter rods could be much more helpful.
Take that into consideration, everyone. There's a reason why he does it that way. Okay. Can we call this your favorite way with clients, or just backup number 2, second way that you go after them a lot?
It's the second way, and oftentimes second drift that I'll do is I'll get the plug rods out. And I'm old school wise, I'm still a plugger. And I got away from it for many years when we were doing the whole side drifting thing.
Sure.
But I got back to it. And part of the reason why plugging, I believe, is having a new uprising is because of the mag lip, the Yakima bait mag lip.
Sure.
And they made a plug now that fishes right out of the package.
Sure.
99 out of 100 fish well right out of the package. Now, the truth is that you might find that 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 that's the game changer plug.
Sure.
But all of them, generally, you throw them in the water without having to tune them, and they work.
Right.
You still, once in a while, you know, will pull on that pull point eye a little bit one way or the other to get it just so it digs and dives straight.
Sure.
But really trouble-free plugs. They really are. And they dive.
Well done, Buzz.
They dive deep and they catch fish.
They really do. And my question, I've got a couple. We got to cut to a quick break though. My first question for him is the first bit of, maybe you can think about this during the break. If somebody were to say, I've not back trolled, I haven't run plugs, I've been a free drifter, bobber dogger, what your first bit of advice to him would be? Not yet. Hold on to it.
Okay.
We'll have that when we come back from this break. And trust me, any advice that you can get from Chris when you're referring to specifically plugs will help you if you're new at it. Pay attention. We'll be right back.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by Terra Firma Foundation Systems. We keep homes safe, dry, and stable. By Yakima Bait, steeped in tradition, innovation, and fishing success. And by Procure Bait Sense, ruthlessly effective.